and then I'll play the intro. And like I said, worst case, if the questions go, if you can't hear me, I'll just type the questions to you, so that way you can just answer them, and I'll always splice in audio later, post production. The magic of CGI.
I think I fixed what the problem was.
Okay, cool. Since audio sounds good, I'm counting down. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Holland here with another NFL playoff preview live stream via the Sports Refuge, talking about all the teams in the hunt and who are still in play in both the AFC and the NFC. And here with me to talk about the San Francisco 49ers is longtime Niners fan and someone who's you've seen on the show before in different variations on live streams or in podcast episodes, is a good friend of mine, Jeff Scott. Jeff, how are you doing today?
Good, man. How are you doing, Earl?
I am doing absolutely great. I'm glad to have you on talking about the Niners. I know you've been a huge Niners fan for the longest time.
Yeah, I've been a 49ers fan ever since, Joe Montana and Steve Young. It's been kind of a blood pressure raising and lowering experience this year, especially when they went on their 3-game skid this year to their 4-game rising. They've definitely given me, and I know your brother Eddie, a few, and other fans, a few stopgap moments this year.
Oh yeah, definitely, and that's something we'll talk about that as we get a little more into depth about the Niners this year. But first of all, one of the first things I wanted to ask you, as you started to mention earlier, how did you become a Niners fan, and how did you end up sticking with them, especially through the tough times, the lean years prior to the return of Jim Harbaugh?
Well, I've been an Orioles fan for a long time, so it kind of goes along with the experience. You learn to stick with your team. You don't want to be a fair weather fan. So even throughout the 80s and 90s, when they had a few hard, years, you just learn to go with it. I mean, I remember the 2000s when we stunk for about 5-6 years, and it wasn't that easy, man. I mean, still worked with pride when Frank Gore he stayed with the team and just stuck it out. And now I just saw something on the internet the other day where it said, I'm not saying they will, but if this current run they're on, it'd be nice if they invited me back, to let me be the backup running back or whatnot, and try to get a ring.
And it's interesting, after he's been was out there boxing with Darren Williams of formerly of the Utah Jazz a couple nights ago. I mean, I guess he's got a little too much time on his hands.
Yeah, man, but that dude is a workhorse, dude. I mean, was he ranked third in all times rushing yards?
Yeah, and that's huge, especially you got big names up there like Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith, and things like that. But yeah. But next question I want to ask you: what is your most memorable Niners moment? Was it the most recent Super Bowl against the Chiefs? Was it the previous Super Bowl against Baltimore, or was it one of the more recent ones, or is there some other moment that's hard to really quantify?
Um, well, it's hard to quantify, but a couple years ago when you had there's a couple of moments. When I went to my first game with you and Steph over, was it FedEx Field, and that was an awesome moment, man. Even though we only got to see a half, that was great. And then when we got to when I saw number 85 carry all those, was it 4 players on his back to get the first down to keep our playoff dreams alive, man. There's nothing like that.
Yeah, and I can imagine that, especially taking in your first NFL game. That's something that, again, if the moments were more optimal, and everything actually fell into place, you would have been there to see the whole game from beginning to end. But that's what happens when you have an opposing team that runs the ball a lot, bad traffic, and the Bay Bridge being backed up, pretty much.
Only in Maryland, baby. Only in Maryland.
Crab cakes, football, and bridge blockages. That's what they do best.
Hey, 3 things that happen only in Maryland: earthquake, tornadoes, and what was it? Hurricane.
Hey, that's what
That's
happened.
you know, and you can only enjoy it with your friends.
That's definitely true. Going into the season, wanted to ask you this. Going into the season, what were your expectations for the Niners? It looked like last year was a bit of a Super Bowl hangover, going 6-10. The injuries to Garoppolo, and it seems like that's always pretty much a yearly thing with Jimmy Garoppolo getting hurt. But going into the season, what were you expecting the Niners to do? And it seemed like it was going to be a loaded conference, a loaded division, the NFC West, with Arizona getting better and the Rams getting Matt Stafford, and of course Seattle being Seattle. What were you hoping the Niners could do heading into the year?
Compete. I wasn't expecting the 3-loss run, but they got Bosa back, and he's been a beast. I mean, he's in the running for Defensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. What else? There was another one. I was watching the game yesterday, and he's already got like 13 or 14 sacks, and he's always in every play. They give him the option to change sides every play he's on. He's always in the mix. He stops plays. He scares the living daylights out of other players. I mean, if we could get his brother, I believe his brother plays for the Chargers. If we could get his brother to play for us, man, that'd be an unstoppable duo. I mean, and then I understand Garoppolo's hurt. He just he kind of plays like he's scared sometimes. But when it comes to clutch moments, man, he does 80-90% of the time. But there was a play about 3 games ago when they blew it against Seahawks. He threw the ball and they got smacked out of the air. Now, I tell you one thing, I was not happy about that. I take some other patience. It took some patience not to like to toss something at the TV from that. So I was kind of hoping he'd come back in a more clutch moment, clutch form for me.
Mm-hmm. Was there a particular point in the season that you were optimistic? Okay, the Niners are heading back to the playoffs. Last year was just one of those weird blips on the radar.
Yes, and I was saying when they started to win 3 in a row, that's when I kind of saw them coming back. After they beat, good gosh, let me think. After they beat the Browns, you could kind of tell that they weren't it wasn't a fluke. And then with this one right here, the Falcons. The Falcons are kind of pushovers by this time of the season over the past few years. But the defense has been consistent the past few years with Bosa, Warner, and And then I think there's a rookie this year. It starts with A. I can't remember his name. But they've been kind of consistent. The one key thing, besides that's held the team together. And then over the past 2 seasons, you've seen Deebo Samuel. That's helped them along. He's this year, besides receiving, he's been running the ball. He's already got like 7 rushing touchdowns. They're starting to use their players, in a more variety of manner. Besides just, everybody's starting to step up into their roles and come out of their shells. You know what I mean? So it looks like they're playing more as a team and not as individuals.
Mm. Going to the opposite side of the coin, was there a time that you saw where you're thinking these guys might not be playoff bound? They're, it's time to break things up and time to shake a little life into them.
When Garoppolo got hurt, I wanted to see what Trey Lance could do. And I saw. So that's what, the game he got to play. I was happy to see that, and it looked like he could be the quarterback of the future for us.
Uh-huh.
So that was nice, and he played a really great game, even though we lost. That was our game against the Cardinals, I believe. That was nice to see.
Yeah, and something we'll talk a little more about Trey Lance as well in a little bit. But looking at the playoffs right now, the Niners are sitting in the 6th seed, which last year would have been just holding on to a spot in the playoffs, but this year that means they're comfortable. They're comfortable ahead of that 7th seed. Who do you think the Niners match up the best with in the NFC?
Oh boy, asking a tough one on that one. I'm going to have to say it's probably the Rams. I think they can probably beat, Matt with a little leeway, because that's probably who they're going to end up playing, or the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, and it's very interesting looking back at that game. They beat the Rams by 21 points, and that was the beginning of their 3-game winning streak, their
Yes,
most
it
recent
was.
3-game winning streak. And looking on the other side of it, who in the NFC scares you? Is it the Cardinals? Is it Green Bay? Is it anybody else that hasn't been mentioned? Is it Tampa Bay? Could be one of those 3 teams?
I'd say Tampa Bay the most, because Tom Brady, even though I don't like him, the man has clutch. That for the most part, we have a history of beating Green Bay. Cardinals, no, because they barely beat us by 7, or was it 3? And like I said, our defense has been consistently helping us the whole entire season. The last like 3 or 4 games, we've been having at least 2 or 3 turnovers per game, and we've been scoring off those turnovers. So, I mean, most teams have probably been like, "What the hell is going on?" Even when our rookies come in or people have been playing off our bench, they've been proving themselves. And as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and allow people, getting pass interference or roughing the passer penalties like we did last year, we should be fine. Like I said, knock on wood.
Mm-hmm. Another question. I know you mentioned Trey Lance a little bit earlier. When you saw that the Niners decided to draft him in the 1st round, what were your thoughts on it? And did you think this is pushing Jimmy Garoppolo out of the door fairly easy, especially with the number 3 pick in the draft?
Now, I did not watch. I don't really watch college football, but I did my research on him. I kind of liked what I saw and liked what I researched, that he was a more mobile quarterback and that he could pass the ball. Um, I don't know if it's necessarily, pushing Jimmy Garoppolo out the door, because it's business as usual. They've got to have a competent backup quarterback, and somebody of the future, because our past 2 or 3 backups had not exactly been anything to write home about. They when they put them in last year, we had one that could only win 2 or 3 games, and it wasn't by much. And that when they want to compete, you need somebody to compete if you want to go playoff bound or win a Super Bowl. I mean, look what Tom Brady did. He took the reins from I believe it wasn't Jim Kelly. No, he took
Drew
the reins. Drew Bledsoe. I know it was a long time ago. And they didn't look back. And he went on to win 6 Super Bowls. He won his 7th last year. What? Not last year. Yeah. And you need somebody like that to lead your franchise into the future. Now, I'm not saying that Trey Lance is going to be that guy, but you have to give somebody like that a chance. And he's not going to. You don't know if he's going to be Lamar Jackson or, excuse me, or whatnot. But does he have the potential to? Sure. Did he show a little bit of that potential when they played the Cardinals? Yes, he did. He seems like he has the skill. Now, like I said, I talked to a few other people. They said, he's had some time off. Well, Arizona has a pretty good defense. Did he look rusty? A little bit when he played, but he looked pretty good to me.
As we go to our playoff preview, our Super Bowl prediction, who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who do you have coming out of the AFC? Who wins the Super Bowl? And what is the final score?
Of course, 49ers win a Super Bowl and come from the NFC. And coming from the AFC, that is a hard pick. I'm going to have to possibly say maybe the Titans again. It may be 30-21. But right now, it's too close to call.
It seems like it's a pretty good game. And I know that a lot of people were initially talking about the a lot of people I've talked with have said pretty close scores so far. So it's very interesting to see how this ends up turning out. So it'll be interesting to find out how it ends up looking in the final run. But as we start to wrap this up, what are ways that people can read before we start that, do you have any shout outs you want to give, anything you want to promote as well? And then how can people reach out to you on social media to talk Niners football?
If they want to talk, I'm always on Facebook. My Jeff Scott. I'm on Twitter, and I guess you can find me on Instagram. I'm not really on there that much. If they always want to get hold of me, they can always get hold of me through, contact you. And also, my wife is trying to get a new library in Harrington, Delaware. So I'd like to promote that, help her with the funding. And other than that, not really. Help support your local hospitals, because the people that are working there right now are getting overwhelmed with COVID and other things. Other than that, nothing else, man. Oh, yeah, support your Orioles, because we have stunk for a long time, and I think these next couple seasons are going to be something to look at. And also, your man, Earl Holland, is putting in the work. He's putting in the work, guys. And this man deserves your support. Also, he's going to be a father.
Hey, I'm glad you gave the shout out there. Yeah, I really appreciate it, Jeff, for you taking time out of your schedule to do this. Again, we right now are in a bit of a holding pattern, having a few more podcasts. We have one on Thursday scheduled with David Krause talking Minnesota Vikings, but we are still looking for Cleveland Browns fans, Los Angeles Rams fans, Las Vegas Raiders fans, Arizona Cardinals fans, Atlanta Falcons fans, and many more, as I'm trying to bring up the list of who else I'm looking for. Also, well, let's see. Who else am I looking for? Oh, Buffalo Bills fans as well, Indianapolis Colts fans, and Philadelphia Eagles fans, which is very surprising. I live in Eagles territory, so you'd think it'd be a lot easier to find those, but you never know. So
I can give you a Cleveland Browns fan.
okay, if it's this, well, hey, I'm all for it. We can talk a little more about that once we get off air about that, but definitely I'm all for all the help I can get talking Browns as well. But for my guest Jeff Scott, I am Earl Holland saying see you guys back Thursday. Maybe I'll pop up tomorrow or Wednesday as well. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll do this again very soon.